Well, hey neighbor, we're probably facing a hurricane as we speak here. We got some storm coming in. If it reached hurricane status, which we're assuming it did, Helena was going to be the name. Our friends out in Louisiana caught the last one. Miss Linda Sanchez and them caught the last one. I guess it's our turn to catch this one. So we hope everything will turn out well. We hope it's not going to be too bad. But anyway, we've got a garden show tonight, and we're going to be talking about cover crops, winter cover crops, to get your mind off the storm a little bit. And we're specifically going to be asking some common questions about winter cover crops, and also going to pepper in what cover crops you would use for raised beds. Welcome to the Row by Row Gardening Show, the best dadgum gardening show on the internet, where we talk about gardening, a little bit of cooking, and growing your own food. Now sit back and enjoy. Well, if you're looking, if you can tell, I'm petting something underneath the table here. Maggie Jane decided she would join us today, and she's got her head up here because she loves to be loved.
Did you see the sweet potatoes she bit into?
I did not. She gnawed her sweet potato up.
She's got one up there she's working on.
Bless her heart. Yeah. Yeah. Maggie Jane went to the spa last week when we was out of town, got a bath and a trim, and she thinks she's something now, sporting around in the office everywhere. But anyway, we've got a lot going on. Storm's in. Hopefully everybody's got their taters out of the ground by now, because the last thing you need is some sweet potatoes in the ground and a storm coming in.
Well,
but
there's a few hours.
There's a few of ours right here, and they turned out pretty good. I was going to do a video on cured potatoes today. We decided to do cover crops. We may do this later on.
Once they get cured, I'll cook something up.
Yeah, have sweet potatoes. We got a pretty decent crop of sweet potatoes this time. We got brassicas that we planting. I still got to get mine planted. I'm holding off letting the storm get through before I plant mine.
I planted mine, and they struggled. We've had 90-degree weather again.
96 degrees day before yesterday.
And so they struggled a little bit, but I think they're gonna be all right.
Yeah. One of the things that's not struggling, folks, is Roselle. Our Roselle seed crop is just doing wonderful. Look at there, those calyx right there. Now, folks, if you haven't been following along, this is Roselle hibiscus, which is an edible hibiscus that we love here in the Deep South. The most amazing thing is we've got a new variety this year called St. Kitts, and we've been blown away with it so far. Loaded up like I've never seen Roselle loaded before. Big calyxes for the most part, but the main thing is it matures out a lot quicker
Before the frost.
So you can make Roselle, this particular Roselle here. Now I can't tell any difference in the plant. The plant looks pretty much the same. But this Roselle is maturing out on days of maturity. Now, if my memory serves me right, we planted this back in May. And here we are in the end of September, and we've got Roselle. So I think anywhere in the state of Georgia, state of Alabama, I think even where in
not
Texas,
the Roselle on the website right now.
Right, that's the thigh red. We will have this one next year.
Yeah, this one, wait till next year to get this.
The thigh red, we're not sold out of it. We still have it on the website. I thought we were sold out of it.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're sold out of our thigh red. And we're going to be switching over to this variety here, which we're going to call it the St. Kitts variety. A little background on this right here. The great folks at Turkey Hill Farm, Miss Louise down in Tallahassee, Florida, which is probably the best, most well-known organic farm in Tallahassee, Florida, is friends of ours. And she shared some of these seeds with us last year, and or this spring, I might say. And this, her husband got these from a student at University of Florida, and they procured them, and they come out of St. Kitts, which is in the Caribbean. And she was blown away by them. We was having a conversation. I was telling her trouble was had. She said, "Greg, you got to try these right here." So this is a variety we're going to go with here. So far, it's been a huge winner. And what I love about it is people can harvest it.
Yeah.
The other variety was so frustrating because it would put on, it set calyxes at the amount of day and the daylight would trigger the bloom set on it. So it would be later in the year, and sometimes frost would get it. With this one right here, it's going to be a winner for just about everybody. So we're excited about that. We're going to have to harvest seeds before long.
We're going to have a seed harvesting party.
And plus, we're procuring seeds from Miss Louise down at Turkey Hill. She's growing some seeds for us as well.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully we'll have plenty of seeds next year. Now, we sent out a lot of these seeds
Free.
earlier in the year, and I will tell you this right here, these seeds are hard to come by. So if you planted St. Kitts and you're having a good harvest, by all means save your seeds, because those are going to be a great variety that's scarce. Nobody else has got, except for one other seed company. I think Seed Savers Exchange may have some of it, but besides that, we're going to be the only ones that have it. So save it, share it with your friends, and make sure you keep saving your seeds every year. Maggie's making her rounds here. All right, so we're talking about cover crops today. And you know what, we a lot of times we talk about cover crops, we don't include the raised bed people. So we're going to include those today, and we're going to talk about some things you can do as raised bed gardeners that can improve your soil, improve your harvest with cover crops. Now, some of the things cover crops will do, and we're just going to go through this list real quick here. They can improve the soil structure or tip of your soil, and they do that by adding organic matter to your soil. We call this biomass. So anytime we say biomass, it's taking all that organic matter, the roots including the tops, incorporating it back into the soil, and that increases the tip or the soil structure of your soil, makes your soil a lot better. We want good alive soils, and we can add these organic matters back to the soil. It increases our soil structure. Another thing is weed suppression. If we can grow a cover crop and it cover up the top and not let that sunlight hit the ground, that can help with weed suppression during summer, wintertime, well in fall and early spring as well. Most of your weed seeds have to have sunlight to germinate. And when we can take that canopy over there, is that Maggie? She was blowing, she's laying down now, bless her heart. When that sunlight cannot hit that seed, it keeps it from germinating, so that canopy will help with weed suppression as well. Soil compaction, man, this is a good one. We got one specifically that works good for soil compaction. You guys got those hard soils. Another one is water infiltration. That's letting that water pass through your soil, so your soils pull that water in. Some of these cover crops will help that as well. Activity against some soil-borne diseases, such as bacteria, rhizomes, pythiums, and things like that. These microbes in the soil and keeping something growing in there will help combat some of that. And nutrient cycling, boy, this is a good one right here. So some of our nutrients, such as phosphorus, most certainly potassium and nitrogen, have to stay in a cycle. So when we keep nitrogen and potassium pulled up to the top of the soil into a plant, incorporate it back in, and keep it from losing it out or leaching it out, that's improving our nutrient cycle. Cover crops are known to do that extremely well. And protects soil surface solar energy, conserving soil moisture. So what that means is keeping our soil from getting baked out. When we keep something growing on top of that soil there instead of bare soil out there, it helps with the sun baking out and just cooking our soil. Bare soil is not good for your garden, folks. We've been preaching this for a long time. You always want to keep something growing. Mulch, keep something growing on it, keeping it active. You know, we hear a lot about organic gardening, and that's all great and good if you're into that. But one of the best things you can do for your soil is to keep something growing there, and cover crops fits in with that cycle there tremendously. So cover crops, although it's not only an organic thing, it's probably one of the best things you can do to be good stewards of the land and being safe, building up your soils and all that. All that being said, folks, let's get into our different cover crops, and we're going to talk about each individual one and what the benefits are. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, first one, crimson clover. Now this is the one you've probably seen on the side of the road if you live in the south. It looks like a strawberry plant in the springtime. A lot of your roadside, they use it for erosion control, cover crops for your roads. Probably not as much now as they used to. It was used everywhere, like up and down the interstate and everything. Certain times of year you see it bloom wonderful.
Pretty, and it's great for pollinators. One of my favorite cover crops is crimson clover. However, it's not going to grow a lot if you plant it this time of year until early spring. It's just going to sit there. It's going to grow some, but it's going to really flourish in early late spring. So if you want something that's going to be great for the pollinators, it's going to be pretty to look at, fairly low growing, crimson clover is a good one. Of the clovers we have, crimson clover to me matures out in the medium slot.
So
And it's something you can broadcast.
something you can broadcast out, rake in, it's easy to grow. But we've got 3 different clovers, and crimson to me is the most popular, and it is that medium slot. So if you want to get something in your garden, early is probably not the one to go to, but if you need a medium maturity clover, crimson clover is one a good one. Also, I think it works good for raised beds because it's not going to get about this big. Next one's Tillage Radish. Folks, Tillage Radish is one of my favorite ones. Now, Tillage Radish is known for breaking up hard pan or clay soils. If you got clay soils, it's hard to work. This is the cover crop for you. Now, this is one of the few cover crops I don't like to mix as a cocktail. I like to plant this one alone most of the time because it has those radish leaves come up and they really spread out, and they don't favor planting anything in there very well because they will keep them from coming up. So it works better as a standalone cover crop. What I like about it so well is it's easy to get rid of. When you go in there and till this up, those radishes, which are long and they're big, those things chew up really good and they decompose extremely well. So if you're looking for something that's going to be easy to get rid of, and you can use your tiller in there like a small spot on the flat, tillage radish is the one for that. The best one for breaking up hard pans and those clay type
Can you
soils.
eat those?
And you can eat them as well. We've seen them in Publix before. They call them daikon radishes. We call them daikon tillage radishes. They're all the same thing. Next one's Kodiak brown mustard. Kodiak brown mustard is good for pollinators, but however, the Kodiak brown mustards that are a biofumigate cover crop for you folks out there that's got nematodes, also works on weeds and I think wireworms as well. So if you got a wireworm problem, nematode problem, or any kind of problem like that, Kodiak brown mustard is going to be the one to use. Now there is some stipulations you got to do there to make it work right. You need to hair it in pretty quick after you mow it. Best thing to do is mow it at bloom stage or maybe right after bloom stage there and hair it in pretty quick and let it gas up in there.
And it's not edible.
It's hot.
Yeah.
It's very hot. I'm actually looking at bringing another one over from overseas they got called Caliente. There's a new one that they developed in Europe called Caliente. I'm trying to get my hands on some of it. It's supposed to be a really good biofumigate.
And this is a good one to plant before potatoes.
Yes, it works good on, I think it works good for wireworms. One of the only biological control for wireworms out there, and nematodes as well.
So you could plant it now and get it going. And
Yeah, so let's talk about the ideal time to plant these cover crops. Is the ideal time for us to plant these cover crops between October 1st and 15th. Now that's being said, folks, if you don't meet that window, you can still plant them a little after that. That's no problem. I said the ideal time to plant them is between October 1st and 15th for us in zone 8 and 9. Now if you live in zone 7, move that 2 weeks up from that, and that's going to be middle of September to the end of September. Zone 6, probably 1st of September, which we've already passed, but you still got time to pull them out. It's not the ideal time, but they'll still do fine. But I can tell you this from years of experience, you will get way better germination and plant growth in zones 8 and 9 if you plant those cover crops between the 1st of October and the 15th of October. And there's 2 reasons for that. One of them is temperature. The other one is the amount of daylight in the day really enhances that seed, and that seed knows it needs to germinate and come up and go there. So it's an ideal time to plant those. And for you guys that deer hunt out there, that's also a great time to plant your food plots for your cool season deer plots. Winterize our next one. Now this is the standard gold one right here is winterize. All right, if you got raised beds and you've got limited tools to work with, winterize is going to be the one to go with. It is probably our most cold tolerant cover crop that we got. It'll take cold on down into the way cold. You know how cold that is? That's cold.
it's cold.
That's cold. But if you live up in the northern areas and you're looking for a cover crop, get your winter rye. It will work for you. It's going to work good for raised beds because it doesn't get very big. You can actually mow it and keep it down to a manageable level. It's going to be easier to extinguish, turn, and get rid of. So if I had raised beds, that would be on top of my list to use there is winter rye. Works good to help cleanse your soil a little bit. It doesn't add the most biomass. It doesn't work real good for pollinators, but it does has a huge amount of benefits as far as being able to cleanse the soil a little bit. It works really good
on helping combat some of those pathogens we talked about. The biggest thing is it's easy to get rid of and it's cold tolerant. Next was going to be Impact Forage Collard, and this is going to be a weird one for you, some of you guys out there to plant collards as a cover crop. Now this one's going to work great for you guys out there that may have gardens that you let your livestock graze on. If you got rabbits, man, this is a great one right here. If you got caged rabbits, you want to grow something to feed those and also work as a cover crop, this is a good one here. It has the benefits as most of our brassica does as a cover crop, but I would not use Impact Forage collards if I didn't have some type of livestock to graze on it. So if you're in that situation, I think it's probably going to be the best ones for you. If you got goats or sheep, or you let your chickens out into your garden or anything like that, that's going to be a wonderful one for you to use Impact Forage collard. Next one's going to be Frosty, Berseem, Clover, which is a white, and it has more of a white pinkish bloom to it. Frosty Berseem is going to get bigger than a red clover, a red crimson clover. It's going to have more organic matter. It's going to get probably a good 6 to 8 inches, maybe a foot taller. It's going to be a later maturing clover. So if you're looking for a cover crop that's going to last you into late spring, that clover is the one you want to go with instead of our other two clovers. That one there's going to load up, going to be wonderful for the pollinators. It's going to have more organic matter than either one of our clovers, but it's late. So if you need to get in that garden early, you want to use one of the earlier clovers, Frosty Berseem is going to be a wonderful, the best one out there if you need it to hang around till late spring. And then we're going to move into White Dutch Clover, which is the complete opposite of Frosty Berseem Clover. White Dutch Clover is going to have the least amount of biomass. It's going to be lower to the ground, easier to manage. So if you're in raised beds, White Dutch is probably going to be a good one to go to. White Dutch is heat tolerant. It's going to last you on into the spring. It's probably going to take the heat better than any of the rest of them. But it is a lower growing clover, and it's one you can actually use. You can actually plant this one in the springtime and probably get it up through May. I've seen it growing on into June.
It says it's a perennial in the north.
It is up north. Down south it can be, but most of the time we view it as an annual. Next one's going to be common wheat, and this is just a common variety of wheat that works out there. I love growing wheat. So if you want to grow a wheat crop, which is what we call a mono type crop, because it's not a dicot, it's a monocot. This is a good one right here. Good, cleans the soil good, doesn't get way out of man. I don't know that I'd use it in raised beds, but it would be good right there. And also you could harvest the wheat off of it if you wanted to. And then one of my favorites is hairy vetch. Hairy vetch is one I plant every year. Now hairy vetch is one that's a legume. It's going to add nitrogen back to your soil. Pollinators love it, but I think it's best served planting as a cocktail with something like black oats and everything, or black oats, wheat maybe. It needs some kind of trellis to grow on.
It's an easy one to get rid of.
It's easy to get rid of. It's probably my favorite cover crop. It has a vine to it, but it's not tough. It's easy to mow. Pollinators love it. It reseeds, comes back good. So hairy vetch as a cocktail is a good one. Australian winter pea is another good one. It's a legume. It's a pea, and it's going to do extremely well for you. Not going to do real good for pollinators, but if you're looking to add nitrogen back into your soil and keep that nitrogen cycle going on, it's going to be a good one for you. Broadleaf mustard. Now, we talked about Kodiak brown mustard. We're going to talk about broadleaf mustard just a minute. If you wanted one that you could eat, this would be the one to plant. So we're talking about some of these cover crops as a dual. You could eat them and use it as a cover crop. The only thing, the broadleaf mustard is not going to be as good as the biofumigate as the Kodiak brown, but you can eat it and then work it back into it. And it's pretty.
Good for the pollinators.
The pollinators do love it. Next one is one of my favorites, which is black oats. Now I like to plant black oats with hairy vetch. What's good about black oats versus regular oats is black oats has more foliage value, so it'll have more biomass. And if you're going to graze it, black oats is superior to me than regular oats. And you talking about something pretty. I love growing oats when they start getting the milk stage in the springtime. All right, so that's pretty much it. I think we covered them all. Our cover crops, and give you some ideas of the benefits of each one of them. Raised beds, I would probably go with winter rye and maybe hairy vetch, I think would work good. If you're really concerned about and you want some pollinators, go with some of the clovers.
Okay.
All right, so we got some common questions.
Some questions the viewers sent in and some other just common questions. When you're thinking about planting cover crops, you need to think about what are your goals, what do you want to accomplish, and you went over these. Are you looking something for soil erosion,
Soil compaction, pollinators.
build organic matter, improve fertility? Because there's different goals for different cover crops.
Yes, we actually, if you go to our cover crop section on our website, we actually have a chart there that lays out each one of these problems right here, and it's kind of a chart like this way, so you can match up what kind of problem you got to what cover crop you want to plant to
Maybe we
solve
can
that
get that
problem.
thrown up on the screen
Yep.
there. When should you seed?
All right, we went over that a little bit earlier. October 1st, 15th for us. You can move it 2 weeks either way. It's what zone you in. 8 and 9, October.
Are there insect issues?
They can be. I normally don't worry about that a lot. As far as insects issues, when we start looking at the impact forest collards, that's one that possibly could be a problem, and you could increase some of your worm population that could cause some problems in the springtime on your brassicas, such as your cabbage and things like that. That is the biggest one that I see that could cause a problem as far as increasing population of bad insects.
Okay.
Now, most of your clovers and the other ones we mentioned here is going to be great habitat for beneficial insects, and that's a good thing. So when we can increase our population of beneficial insects, clovers are known for that. So the only ones I would really be concerned about there as far as diamondback caterpillar, which is one that eats a lot of our brassicas, would be the impact forage collar.
Okay. Do they need irrigation?
Sometimes, I mean, if it turns off dry, you may have to irrigate them. I don't put a lot of resources into my cover crops, but if it is turn off dry and it went a week or so without water, I would possibly water them to keep them along. Normally speaking, they're gonna need about 1 inch per week. If you get somewhere close to that and rainfall, I wouldn't worry about it.
What cover crops are winter killed?
A lot of them will get winter kill if you get into the teens or the single digits. Like I said earlier, the most cold tolerant one we got is winter rye. Some of the other ones, you can get some damage if you get down in the single digits or the low teens. Clovers are going to make it pretty much on down into the single digits.
Do you think cover crops saved you money?
Yes, but I wouldn't necessarily do it. Yeah, they do, because another reason I tell you this, a lot of the big farmers have gotten into cover crops for the last few years because it does make a financial
Well,
benefit.
it saves your water input, your fertilizer.
It does. But from a home gardener standpoint, as far as I think these other benefits is way more advantageous than money savings because they just don't cost much to do.
How do you know what to follow a cover crop with?
So normally speaking, if you've planted a brassica, such as impact forage collards, you don't want to follow that with cabbage or broccoli or anything like that. Most of your legumes that are attract nitrogen, a great crop to follow those with are going to be corn because corn loves nitrogen. But any of your crops pretty much are good to follow your legumes. Specifically, I always try to get legumes before my corn. They work for tomatoes and stuff. You don't want to plant anything in the same family. You don't want to plant daikon radish and grow another radish or maybe another root crop there. You want to maybe switch it up a
something
little
different.
bit. Yep.
How will you terminate the cover crop?
This is probably the biggest one right here is terminating the cover crop. What you want to do ideally is mow it, chew up the top, and then work till or hair those in. That can be easy in in-ground gardening because we can go out there with a lawnmower, cut them, a flail mower, cut them, and then take a tiller and work them into the soil. That's the ideal way. But what about our friends that's got raised beds? How do you do it? You take that digging fork and you work them in. Now you can take a weed eater or something like that, maybe chop them down, or go out there with something and get them cut a little bit, but just work them back into the soil there. If you cannot chop it up as well, maybe in a
a raised bed, it may take a little bit longer for them to break down so that you can go back out there and replant. But a digging fork is the best way to get rid of them.
In the small areas, I'll just pull them up and then I'll take scissors and chop.
You got more patience than I do on that one.
In a small area.
Small area, yeah.
That wouldn't be ideal.
It wouldn't be ideal. So the time frame I normally use between the time I terminate and I plant back is somewhere around 30 days. And that gives me plenty of time. You might could cut it a little bit more than that into 3 weeks. But give yourself about 3 to 4 weeks between the time you work them into the soil. Because you're going to till it a couple of times, get all that organic matter broke down there before you get your soil clean enough to plant those spring crops. Cover crops, winter cover crops. If you're not doing it, you need to.
One more question.
Yep.
What's the best cocktail?
My favorite one is I'm gonna give my favorite one for in-ground, which is gonna be hairy vetch and black oats. For raised beds, I would say my favorite one would be maybe rye and
Hairy vetch?
yeah, hairy vetch. I use hairy vetch skin, but I do like it. It just fits all the bills for most of it. But daikon radish, don't discount it, especially if you got hard soils out there. Winter cover crops to me is like horses. They all my favorites.
Yeah, and most of them are seeded with the broadcast.
Broadcast them in. You can take our seeder with the drill hopper and seed some of them in. I broadcast them a lot of times, but the last couple of years I've been using the drill hopper to plant.
It works better.
It works good because you can kind of lay your rows off, especially with daikon radish. But anyway, you can do it either way. Just make sure you rake them in, get them covered up a little bit, water them for the first day or two to get them sprouted and get them up. I normally don't put much fertilizer, if any fertilizer, on my cover crops. Let them fend for themselves.
There you go.
There you go. You got any more questions? Put in the comments below and we'll try to do our best to get them answered for you. All right, what about some old goat?
Garden spot.
Oh yeah, we've got to do garden spot first. Yep. We're gonna do the okra first.
So the garden spotlight this week is Jerry Scott from South Carolina. He says the attached pictures are the way I want to show you the success I'm having with y'all's product this season. First picture I planted is okra Clemson spineless. June 15th, it's 6 foot tall on 5'11", and it still continues to grow. He has some Dixie Lee peas.
Let's show the okra here first. I got okra upside down. There we go. Yep. And if you want to step up your game, plant jambalaya next year on your okra. It won't get quite so tall on you. There's the peas.
There's the peas.
I got my peas growing. Mine's not as far as long as his are. Those look really good.
And he's an 8B.
And those are what variety? Dixie Lee?
Yeah, Dixie Lee.
Yep.
He said, I just got your turnip seed in the mail today. I ordered it Thursday. Appreciate what you do, encouraging people to grow your own food. I look forward to watching your Thursday shows.
Good deal.
Thank
All right.
you, Jerry.
Old goat. I got to put my glasses on for a look. If you find the old goat on the set here somewhere and it's a figurine, then he moves around every week. He gets a little nervous. He gets ADD and he has to move. So he's moved this week. If you find him, put in the comments below where the old goat is at, and we will draw next week for this week's winner. Last week's winner of finding the old goat is
Daniel.
Sheila, look at that. Daniel Warren.
Daniel Warren.
Daniel, send us your shipping
information to support@growhouse.com. Let them know that you won the old goat drawing for last week, and we'll get you some Get Dirty socks in the mail.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about where we're at on strawberry plants. We're pretty much sold out of strawberry plants. However, we've got a few extra ones coming, but we want to get our orders all out, see what we've got left over. We possibly could have some extra ones, but we won't put them on the website until we get all our orders sent out, and that's going to be sometime in October. I talked to the girl the other day, and he said he's running about a week behind, so we may be a little bit later. We may be a week later than we thought in October, but we're going to be getting strawberry plants.
That happens every year.
It happens every year.
But we're gonna be getting our strawberry plants out to you in October, probably the second, third, maybe start of the fourth week there. You got plenty of time to plant them. If we have any left over, we will put them on the website at that time. Strawberry plants have been extremely tight this year, and we sold out earlier than we ever have before. We got 2 new varieties,
And
we
we
sold
had
out
more to sell.
and we had way more to sell. So that's kind of where we're at there.
We'd love to have more to sell.
Yep. And we have garlic in. We sold out of one variety. We're getting close on some others. I think our German white is getting close if it's not sold out. We still got some of the other hardneck varieties. Still got a little bit elephant garlic left, a little bit. So if you want any of those to plant, you need to get them. Brassicas. We've got one more grow out of brassicas coming in. You can go on the website and order them right now, and we're going to ship them next week.
And that'll be it.
That'll be it. We'll probably be sold out next week. We don't have that many coming in. We've got a short supply coming in, but if you want any collards, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, or kale, get on there and order them, and we'll ship them out Monday or Tuesday this coming week. And that's going to be our last one for the fall. Maybe we'll have some more come springtime. We'll see. And we got onion plants. We got onions. We just, believe it or not, got our onions planted for our seeds. Our onion seed planted for our onion plants this last week.
So people call and say, where's my onion order?
We just got them planted, but you can go ahead and buy your onion plants. We're going to ship them in November. We was about a week later getting them planted that we wanted because the last storm come through, kind of got everything wet. So we're running about a week behind on those, but we still should hit the mid-November mark easy.
You think this storm may cause any issues?
I hope not. Keep your fingers crossed. Yep. All right, so there you have it. Hope everybody stays safe from the storm. Maybe we'll get past this and we can get back out there and get started gardening again. And when it all clears up, folks, get out there and get those hands dirty.